Hey everybody, we're live. That's my new signature. That's probably gonna last from one episode like that. Oh my gosh, yes, live. Jessica, how are you doing?
I am doing quite well, thank you. I'm making it, and I'm getting my second COVID shot this Sunday, so I made it through.
In this era of fake fan noise, I never thought that fake fan noise would become a thing.
It's
But
true, but it is.
yeah, Jessica is our VIP entertainment blogger and vlogger, and our resident expert on, in this instance, Candyman and the cult figure that is Tony Todd, who we both have had the pleasure of meeting.
Yep, he's fantastic. He's very tall and very gracious, and just an amazing actor with a career that's massive. Like, it's not just horror. He has done so much, and some of the best stuff that I've ever seen in Star Trek is Tony Todd centric, which is when there's a fantastic episode of Deep Space Nine where he plays an older Jake Sisko who meets his father, Avery Brooks, and this just heart-wrenching, beautiful stuff. And he's a theater actor. He's a Shakespearean actor. He's just amazing. And that's what adds so much to Candyman is Tony Todd and his acting ability and his just amazing performance, and the fact that he took it seriously. That's what I love when it comes to like horror actors, but especially with Tony Todd. Hey, Raiders. The fact that you have some of the actors who play the best villains and the most iconic legends in horror are the guys like Tony Todd, like Robert Englund, like Jeffrey Combs, who are theater actors and Shakespearean trained actors who just, they take it seriously and bring so much gravitas to the role that is why this guy on my shirt is still around and still the most beloved actor to have played that role. And why Tony Todd just is, he took a character like Candyman, which is very unique in the realms of horror, because he was a serious Black horror character. And I likened him to William Marshall because he took a role like, you have Blackula, which just the name kind of makes you want to laugh. But at the same time, William Marshall brought it to that role. And I even told Tony this after I hosted a panel with him and a bunch of his co-stars from Candyman and the director and writer. I told him, I'm like, if they ever do another Blackula or something like that, you remind me so much of William Marshall. And he would really love that fact that I said that, because not only do you have Candyman there, but Star Trek as well, because William Marshall played the creator of the Doomsday device.
Dr. Richard Daystrom.
Yeah, the Daystrom Institute. It's eternal.
My favorite non-Starfleet direct character.
Yeah, he and the fact that he broke the boundaries that back in the 60s by playing a intelligent scientist who was a African American was phenomenal. More of that great Gene Roddenberry stuff going on there and breaking boundaries. But you got that with Tony Todd as well. He and Jeffrey Combs both have played so many characters in Star Trek now. But it's
one thing, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
William Marshall's voice.
He's the king of cartoons.
Destroy a cock. You can't. Look what we've done. Starships. 4 toys to be trusted. That's when Spock put the pitch on him.
Yep.
I'm sorry, folks. I just love that scene. Oh,
he's just amazing. And if you haven't seen Blackula or Blackula Scream, they're fantastic films. There's a Blu-ray with both of them on it that Shout Factory did. But like I said, Tony Todd he's one of those guys that when you see he's going to be in a movie, he raises it up the quality is going to go up with it. I mean, he was in The Crow and he played that awesome character in The Crow that was just mysterious and smart. And he's another guy that has that voice. Like when he says that whole "be my victim" line, that's not magic of filmmaking. That's his voice that makes that reverb. And I saw him do it live at the Candyman 2 premiere, and he just did it into the microphone and it just reverberated around the theater and everybody was like, yeah. So it just, he's just iconic. And it's a really a big honor. So the guy who played Jason is probably Kane Hodder, who you're talking about, who I've just recently interviewed for a series that's going to be coming up on Joe Blow, which I can't really talk about, but I just did. And Michael Myers has had a few people play him, but oh shoot, I just blanked on the guy's name. But the original Michael Myers actually directed The Last Starfighter. So Nick, God, I'm horrible. I just completely blanked on his name. Now I have to look him up because I'm a horrible person.
Oh, you're not a horrible person.
Nick Castle. I was halfway there. I got the first name, but Nick Castle. But the thing that I'm really proud about with the fact that this is kind of talking about the fact that I got nominated for a Rondo Award for this interview with Tony. And what sucks is way back in 2020, we didn't know that Everything and Its Brother was going to get moved to a different date. So we did all of our Candyman coverage under the pretense of the original release date, which was February of... Well, actually, it was August, something like that. It was supposed to happen last year, as many things were supposed to. And I ended up interviewing for Candyman, the new film, because Tony does appear in that. I interviewed the director, who's a woman, and African-American woman, which is fantastic to hear. And she is not Jordan Peele. A lot of people are thinking that it's Jordan Peele that did it, but it's not. Nia DaCosta is the director. And she also co-wrote the screenplay. But also, Jordan Peele did produce. But I interviewed her. I interviewed Tony, of course. And then I'm always butchering this guy's name, Yahya Abdul-Mareen II, who is, you may recognize him as Black Manta from Aquaman.
Yes.
So, hey, David. Hey, Zennie and Jessica. I am a big Tony Todd fan, so I figured actor thing. Yay, we talked about Star Trek. I'll talk about that some more. But I got to interview all of them for the issue, and we did this beautiful cover that was hey, David, thank you for commenting. This beautiful cover. And I ended up having such a great conversation with Tony that we kind of gave it its own space in the issue. And we talked about a lot of things. We talked about his work previously and all of that. But we also talked about the aspects of making the original film. And the things that happened that you would be shocked happened with that movie. I saw Candyman back in high school. I've been a huge, huge Clive Barker fan since I discovered him in like 1989, 1988, something like that. I was like 14. And I fell in love with his work. And Candyman came from a story that he did in the Books of Blood called The Forbidden. And the movie was just stunning to me. I saw it in 1992 when it came out, and it was just beautiful, and how the music worked and the theme of it and the tragedy of it, and just how just a neat, different film. And the story of this character, Daniel Robideau, who is a artist who falls in love with a white woman, and she's his muse, and then he pays for that love with his life and his hand, which is like the worst thing for an artist. So they cut his hand off, and her family kills him, covers him and slathers him in honey, and lets the bees sting him to death. And so then he comes back as Candyman, and there's a lot of levels to Candyman. There's like, you've got the racism level, but then you also have the fact that you have a woman trapped in this marriage with a man who does not support her, really, cheats on her. This is Xander Berkeley, by the way. Xander, good old Xander, playing an asshole. Great to see. But you have this woman trapped in this marriage, and she's very smart. She's very savvy. She's the reincarnation of his lost love, and she's sort of trapped. And what's interesting is Candyman's whole thing and his seduction of her is about, be my victim and you will find it forever. You will find your release. I'll release you from this. And in a way he does. And thank you, David.
Thank you.
But in a way he does, because at the end of the film, she has become
Zennie 62 Media, but there you go.
Mr. Z.
Noted.
But at the end of the film, you have this, she has become like him. She's forever. She is now legend, and she cannot be harmed. And she takes her revenge because she has found that her power, her own power. And so you've got that whole subtext in there. And it's, and then on top of that, there's so many cool things here. And they explore this in the new film too. But in the, please interview Andrew Lincoln. I have talked to Andrew Lincoln. He's quite pretty to see in person. And I probably will be interviewing him about the upcoming Rick Grimes movies that I think have wrapped production already, or one of them has. I think there's supposed to be 3. But also in the original Candyman and in the new film, you have the idea of hiding the past and the whole gentrification thing. Because in the film, in the original, the Cabrini Green projects are shown. They're no longer there. They've been destroyed in Chicago, but they were a real thing. And Helen's apartment complex that she lives in with her husband was also a project. And it was created in the same shape and style as Cabrini Green, and they find that out. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, we're going to cover up this stain on our history, and we're going to just whitewash it, to use a phrase. And it's hiding that shame and hiding, like pushing away, what's happened, the bad things. And so like in the new Candyman, you have the lead character who is also an artist who falls into being possessed, it looks like, by the original Candyman. And it's kind of a metaphor in 2 levels, because he's living in this area where Cabrini Green was and completely doesn't realize what it is, never thought about it. But his goal is to be this successful artist and not think about, where he came from. And on top of that, you've got the possession angle of Candyman taking him over, like the gentrification is taken over in the neighborhoods. So there's a whole subtext within these films about the reclamation of who we are and the power of story, because you speak his name to bring him forth, but you also tell the stories that keep him alive. And it's just such a neat thing to think about. And that's what I think Clive Barker did so perfectly about this whole story, is using it to talk about the power of story.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my long-winded answer about Candyman.
It so happens that I have a video of Tony Todd at Sushi Girl, which I believe you were at too, but this is the interview line. Mind if I play it to give people an idea of what he's like for
Sure.
2 seconds? Absolutely. Folks, this is Tony Todd at Comic-Con 2011 talking about Sushi Girl. And I think a little bit of Candyman thrown in, but at any rate, here is Mr. Todd.
The legendary Tony Todd. What's up, man? No, I don't. But everybody tells me I need to get one. Yeah, absolutely. You were coming up with this idea, you say, hey, sort of otherwise, I like to get involved in where you much guys do. And is it true? Oh, absolutely. Without chopsticks, man.
Wait, are you going to stop that right there? Okay. Only a horror movie star does that. Okay. Folks, the story is about Sushi Girl, which is about this woman played by Sonia Pardum, if I got her. But at any rate, and she is part laid out on this table, and there's food on her, and it's Japanese food, and so hence the chopsticks. So it's a heck of a movie that went through a lot of financial issues, but Tony Todd is one of the major stars. But given his background in Candyman, which is what Jessica here is talking about, it just seems rather fitting. Don't you think, Jessica?
Yeah, I mean,
and look at the camera like that. All right, this is the man that Jessica's talking about. I just want to give you a taste of that.
Yep.
Without, turning the subject too much, but I thought it was fitting.
No, he's fantastic. And I just posted in the chat. I don't know if everyone can see it, but a link to the video of the panel that I hosted with all the guys, which was pretty amazing. So it's I got the honor of hosting the Candyman panel. We had a reunion at Horror Hound Weekend a few years ago, and it was Tony, Xander Berkeley, Ted Raimi, who hardly ever does cons, very rarely, and it was pretty fantastic, and Bernard Rose, who was the director, and I believe he co-wrote some of the script for the film. And all of that really cool beginning shots that you see in the movie.
Good night, Dave. We'll see you.
Night, Dave. But all those beginning shots you see in the movie where the cars are driving through the streets, and how everything looks like a honeycomb, like like the inside of one of the hives, and how the Reading Green buildings look like a hive, is all Bernard Rose. He's just a brilliant filmmaker. So I was really thrilled to get to be on a panel with all those guys and talk about it. But the thing, kind of going back to Tony and what we talked about in the interview, is the fact that when this movie came out, it was in the early 90s. It was 92. I hadn't even graduated high school yet. And this was a big deal because you had an interracial romance happening in this movie. And that was what the core story was about. And it turns out that there out there somewhere are these really interesting and beautiful scenes of Virginia Madsen and Tony Todd that highlight this romance. You kind of get a feel of it in the film, and it's definitely there. But there are more scenes out there that are deeper and provide more context for this relationship that were cut because the studio didn't want to trigger anybody with it. They were afraid of going there with an interracial couple on screen like this. And Tony is still to this day mad about it because he and Virginia spent time together to kind of build this rapport and this relationship, and it comes across they definitely have great chemistry. And they went horseback riding. They took ballroom dancing. They did all this stuff to kind of create this chemistry together. And then the studio was like, no, we're kind of, let's kind of tame that down.
Lord. Oh, no.
And so, yeah. So Tony likens this whole relationship, and it truly is, to Phantom of the Opera, because you have this voice talking to you in the dark, seducing you and everything. But there's also a love story there because of the history and what happened and the tragedy of it. But the studio was too scared to go there.
Are you saying that somewhere around there now flying around is a version of the Candyman with all of these scenes in it?
There's nothing been put together. I hope that with the release of the new film, maybe they'll be like, okay, you know what, we're gonna make a new cut and we're gonna put these scenes in there. Yeah, something with all of it together, kind of like what Clive did with Nightbreed, where you got everything, because Nightbreed was butchered by the studio. They didn't know what to do with that movie.
How about the Snyder cut, right? But you have the Tony Todd, right?
I wouldn't be down. I mean, come on. So yeah, there's these scenes out there that have been
the campaign right here. We want the Todd cut.
The Tony Todd cut.
Like the Todd cut of Candyman.
Yeah, and that's what's so funny is now why I'm so happy about what Jordan Peele's doing and what Nia DaCosta is doing is, if you guys haven't seen that amazing trailer they did using the theme music of Candyman, it's the theme that was Philip Glass and the crew made, to those shadow puppets that show like the murders of, like, the first one I think you see is Daniel Robideau getting murdered, and then you show the cops shooting the young black kid, and there's these different horrifying things that are the truly scary parts because they're real and they're made with shadow puppets. They were able to, and that was just a release they did to kind of, it's not really a trailer, but it's something to highlight Candyman. And with them being able to do that, I'm like, come on, just go back and get the scenes and just put it together the way it's supposed to be. You know, we need sweets for the sweet.
Yeah, absolutely.
So come on.
What did you learn in talking with him?
So Tony is just a fantastically smart guy and very, very talented. At the time, he because like I said, it was way back when we were hoping this would be over quicker with COVID. But I got to find out at the time he was getting ready to do a theatrical production of Fences. And so he's very much a very just altogether dude. Like he's smart, he's savvy, and I knew this already, but getting to talk to him about like theater and, listening to him talk about his career and all the things he's done. He's one of those guys that's always been there. Like he's done so much. If you look at his IMDb portfolio, it's massive. And again, I go back to the fact that you have these, these people, these actors that are called horror actors, and there's nothing to be ashamed of that. But I want people to realize, when they just shove them into a corner, like that's not all they do, and that's not a slight on them to call them a horror actor. I always bring up Jeffrey Combs because Jeffrey Combs, like Tony, Star Trek, of course, as we said, but one of the coolest things I ever got to see, and they don't do it anymore, and it really bums me out, is that they stopped doing this. But he and the actor who played the two lead actors who played the Cardassians on DS9, Gul Dukat and his right-hand man, all three of them would typically go to Star Trek cons and they'd be there together. And because they're like the villains of Star Trek with him as Weyoun, they decided to do this brilliant production called What Shakespeare Left Behind. And you could pay, you get the ticket, you get an extra ticket to go see it. And it's the three of them doing different parts of Shakespeare. And they have one whole part that's just the villains, which is so fantastic. But they are doing all these different things and showing their range and showing what they can do and what, these aren't just, oh, he's just a sci-fi guy.
Mm-hmm.
No, this guy's out here just doing some amazing work. And it just showed and what's even greater about it is you have guys like Patrick Stewart,
Mm-hmm.
who are considered Shakespeareans.
Right.
And you finally are getting the horror genre and sci-fi are finally getting their due.
Oh, by the way, we happen to take a look. Boom. That's it. It's so pretty. Tell people again what this is.
So this was a Nia DaCosta found an artist, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name of the artist that she worked with on this, but this is a beautiful, if you look, I'm pointing at it like you can see me pointing, but if you look there, there is a hand moving the puppet in the top left, and these are shadow puppets. And this is Daniel Robideau painting his lady love, who ends up getting him murdered because of the interracial thing and racism. But this thing's about 3.5 minutes long, and it's nothing but shadow puppets. It's nothing but the Candyman theme music. And it just goes through this history of horror that has just been a part of the ugly part of, being African American in this country and what you've gone through. And due to that, and it shows, a young Black child being shot by people and being attacked and things. And this is sort of like the real horror of reality.
Mm-hmm.
And it's absolutely beautiful, and it will break your heart.
Oh, fantasy meets reality, considering all the stuff that's happening.
And that was the thing, was at the time that Candyman was going to come out, when the new one, the release being delayed really was sucked, because it was so timely, but sadly it's still timely. Still timely.
How can we hear your interview?
Well, it's in Horror Hound, but I actually am going to be posting the audio for you guys, because it's been so long. It's been like a year since I had the interview. So I'll be posting the audio for you guys so you can listen to it on Zennie 62 on in Oakley News now. It's only going to be audio though. There's no video attributed to it, but that way you guys can hear it, part of it. And like I said, it's a fantastic interview, and getting the insight to making this great film was really important to me. And getting to just dig in and find out more about Tony and just his life and what he's done is great, because you don't really get to hear that side of things. People just sort of ask about, hey, what's up, Candyman? What's going on? What was it like to do that? What's the bees? You put the bees in your mouth. And he really did that too, by the way. That was real. He did that. He put the bees in his mouth.
You talked about Kane Hodder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, as we close, I'd like to play for you a video which you will find quite interesting, and viewers will find quite entertaining, which is related to your conversation here. And folks, and that'll close us out. Unless, of course, it sparks more conversation, which could happen.
Really quickly, if you want to vote for my interview with Tony Todd, look up the Rondo Awards, and they are currently still taking votes. You can go to the Rondo Hatton Awards, and they will, you have a list. There's a ton of different categories.
RondoAwards.com?
Let's double check. I think so.
Let me
Awards. I think it's just rondo.com.
Rondo, let me know and then I'll put it up here. Rondo, R-O, is like rondo.com?
Yeah, it's the rondoaward.com. Rondoaward.com. And they're created for Rondo. They're named after Rondo Hatton, who was a actor back in the 30s and 40s who didn't need makeup to make himself look different. He had a condition that made his face bigger than a normal sized face, and so they created this award. It's basically his head. And so what you do is you go to the rondoaward.com, go to the ballot, and you get to vote on all the different things.
Right here, right?
Yes, there it is. And that's the award. That's what it looks like.
The Rondo Hatton Classic Horror Award.
Mm-hmm.
And we scroll down. Here's the ballot for it says gasp. 19th annual Rondo Hatton Classic Awards.
I have been nominated 4 times now and never won. The first time was, I think the first one I got nominated for was my interview with Bruce Campbell. And then I was nominated for, I want to say it was the Broadway Horrors. It
was Captain Pike?
Bruce Campbell, as in Ash versus Evil Dead.
Oh, okay.
You're thinking of Bruce Greenwood.
Right, Bruce Greenwood. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I get them mixed up for some reason. Bruce Campbell is Ash versus, yes.
Yep.
And, he's an amazing character.
He is crazy. All he does now is hang out at his lavender farm and I don't know if there's any non-controlled substances involved, but all he does now is do Snapchat filter videos. So it's hilarious. But yeah, this is the ballot. So basically what you would do is, if you email the ballot, you basically make your choices and email it to them, and they will then count your vote. It's old school and it works.
So we're looking for best
interview. Mm-hmm.
So you scroll down.
Yeah, there's a lot of different categories because they do all of horror entertainment, and then they get some sci-fi in there as well. Mm-hmm. So the other thing I like about the Rondo Awards is they celebrate print, where you have magazines and books involved, which is something that not a lot of places do anymore. But as you can see, there's Book of the Year, and I really appreciate and love the fact that they do this. And I also am just honored that
we found it. Number 15, folks.
There it is.
Best interview. And all you have to do is go down and then just go to
Tony Todd by Jessica Dwyer.
So all you got to do is look for Tony Todd. In fact, you know what would really make this easy is if you just search for Tony Todd on this page, and voila.
Copy, paste, put it in an email, and send it off.
That's it. Yeah, there you go. Vote for Jessica. Vote for Jessica. Vote for Jessica. Tony Todd. That's all you got. All you got to do, though, folks, is you go here. All right, there's a way you can.
RondoAward.com.
RondoAward.com, number 15, best interview. Just look for Tony Todd.
Mm-hmm.
Best interview.
Control F, Tony Todd, and it takes you right to it on the page.
Voila. There it is.
Yep. I'm just really, makes me happy that people are reading the stuff that I write. I've been doing this for a while, for almost 20 years, if not 20 years at this point. And the first time I got nominated for one of these, and every time I get nominated, I'm just surprised because that means somebody reads the stuff I write.
Yeah, it's art.
Yeah.
And, hey, it's monetizable art. Keep that in mind in this world of non-fungible assets and so on.
Dale, the 2020 Candyman has not come out yet, so no one has seen it. Yeah. Sadly,
it's called the pandemic. Hey, I'm going to have a little fun here as we roll because this is really not that, excuse me, but I meant to do this, and then I meant to do that, and then I meant to do this. You can't see what this is. It's like, ha, 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 ha. But it's like this, and then it's like this. I feel like, Adam West, Batman. Down, right? But, exactly. But exactly. These are people, I believe, that you will know, and in an area that
Hatchet.
Yeah, baby. Here we go. Thank you, King Zen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm with history. This is Kane Hodder. How you doing?
Hey.
Kane has played,
Aww.
4 times, right?
That's correct.
And you are also Victor Crowley.
Victor Crowley.
And his
twice.
daddy.
Twice. Oh, 4 times, I think.
I hope so.
Yeah. And with the rest of the cast and the crew from Hatchet 2. Say hey, everybody. Hey, Elizabeth, introduce yourself.
Oh, hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm the publicist. One of them.
What you did, that's...
Robert Pendergraft making effects.
I'm AJ Bowen. I'm Kane's stunt double.
Excellent. He's Kane's stunt double. Yeah, they do kind of favor each other.
Yeah, we got 2 of Kane.
Okay, sure. Hey, how are you?
How you doing?
Hey, how you
What's
doing?
Tom Holland?
Yes.
Uh-oh. We got to get her on camera. Say hi, Danielle.
Hi, Daniela.
It's fun.
I was told my wife to do the same thing because you got the flip, right? Is that a
That's
flip?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are my flip video camera days.
too.
That's why. Why don't you take your flip and take pictures of Zennie?
Yeah, Zennie. Yeah.
Zennie.
Yeah.
Right now. Myself, right?
A journalist? I am the umbrella blogger guy, yeah. And you are
Sorry,
300
Miloff. Yep.
Coiled steel and sex appeal. Never forget it,
That's
brother.
right. How can you forget that kind of line?
Kane Hodder forgets it all the time. I have to keep reminding him.
You also Leatherface.
Yes, sir.
You got leather hat too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, cool.
Yes, sir.
I like comic.
So I have a quick fact
been
for
to the one-
everybody out there.
Hold
I
on,
have
hold
a fact.
It was gonna be a stuff.
Okay, go.
So Kane Hodder, I found out, has had the distinction of having played 1, 2, 3 of the 4 biggest slasher killers in history. He played, of course, Jason. He
Yes.
played Leatherface because he was actually, I think it was Ari Meloff's Leatherface that he stunted for.
Right.
And then also he is the hand of Freddy Krueger grabbing Jason's mask in Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday.
No.
So he has played, technically, 3 of the 4 serial killers. He's never played Michael Myers. So there you go.
You got to get him back on because this. Let me play this and I'll explain how this little thing came about.
Own cold blast.
Yeah,
I'm so
definitely.
excited about this. I can't even begin to tell you.
I'm excited too.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah.
at that limo out there, man.
Now, folks, check the date: June 27th, 2010. Oh my lord!
We're old.
That's the limo. Hold on a second. Yeah. That's our limo,
I
folks.
forgot how long that thing was.
RA's
Look at that. Wait,
Leatherface.
freeze that. That's history right there, Jessica.
I love Kane. He's so sweet.
You got
He's
R.A.
such a sweet, good
Miller
dude.
and Kane Hodder. And these, you know what they had? You know what the nickname they had for me was?
Go on.
Century 21.
Oh, because how you were dressed?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. These guys, I mean, I'll let this play. Go ahead.
And on the left, on the right, Kane.
Leather stain, by the way.
And Jasper. What was it like to play 2 of the most incredibly iconic horror movie characters in history?
It changed my life. I mean, it took me from being a day player to a horror movie icon. At least the character is, and I get to ride along on the character's coattails.
Kane?
As RA said, it's just amazing that we were put in that position. And the most fun playing a character is playing the bad guy. Any actor will tell you that. It's more fun playing the bad guy because you can do whatever you want, be crazy. And I loved every minute of the Jason movies and wasn't ready to quit.
I gotta ask both of you guys a
Yeah,
question.
that's a sore
All the
subject
kills
a
you
little
made,
bit.
which one was the worst?
Worst?
Yeah.
Gotta
Or
ask.
best?
Same thing, isn't it?
Okay.
Worst is best, right?
Even though I am the victim, I have to say that the fight we do in Hatchet 2 is knock down, drag out, balls to the wall, rafter shaking, brutal fight to the death. I get killed, but I love it. I love it. And he killed me.
Killed it. How'd you kill him?
Well, I guess we're going to show it.
Yeah, it's not a secret.
Let's just say it's the most
Too late now.
you've ever seen.
Oh, look at that. Curb.
Hey, folks, I just want to take a station interruption. Vote for Jessica. Don't forget to vote for Jessica. Now, back to the action. 1 second.
Get curb stomped there.
That's really badly. People are going to cheer at that one.
That's worse than getting kicked to the curb. All right, I'm ready. You ready for the limousine?
They went for ready.
The limo?
Oh yeah, Always,
you're ready.
Always ready for that.
Definitely.
Yep.
All right, cool.
I mean, I don't understand what I'm not doing driving around in a limo.
So
Oh yeah.
That's
Ladies and
Daniel
gentlemen, Daniel
Harris.
Harris, who's played in Hatchet 2,
Hatchet 2,
Halloween.
4, 5, 1, and 2.
That's right. And what is it like to be now the 21st century scream queen?
It's a nice title to have. I'm branded for life. It's pretty awesome.
Did you get
It's a
stopped
nice
a lot?
honor.
People that talk to you about that? Or?
About being a scream queen or about just yeah, it's they're kind of just more like, oh, we loved you in that, or we like you in these movies.
Yeah.
Instead of the scream queen, it's more of like the journalist, and I think you've sort of given me the scream queen title, which I'll take.
I'm a blogger. Yeah. Plus, you're absolutely gorgeous. I have to tell
Thank
you.
you.
So where are you from?
Originally from New York.
Really? What's your favorite restaurant in New York City?
Banana Tavern actually
Okay,
has
yeah.
the black label burger.
Yeah.
That is the
that
best
burger's so good,
burger
Jessica.
I've had in my life.
Oh,
I
it's
like
so good.
21 myself. I go there every time.
Very nice.
So we're gonna be hanging out in the limo, all of us. So
Yeah, what
stay
they
tuned.
did, Jessica, they embedded me.
that's fantastic.
This is my first Comic-Con.
So
It was like,
so Adam Green, who made Hatchet,
what? Wait a minute. Hold on.
I actually interviewed him for Horror Hound back before the movie really hit, and for that film, and he ended up using the interview as a selling point in his package when he sold the movie.
Yeah.
He used our interview. So thank you, Adam, you sweetheart. He's a really good guy.
I believe you mean this guy right here.
Yeah. Yep. So the original Hatchet.
How did you come up? I know the first idea for Hatchet was
This is Adam Green, folks. Yeah.
based on your childhood memories, right? But was there something where you said, okay, I'm going to take this? When did you have that moment where you said, all right, this is going to be a movie?
I keep telling you about
I mean,
Signal.
when I first thought of it, I always imagined it in my head as a movie character, like Mr. Crowley. And I really started doing comedy. That was what I did. I did a lot of
I'm going to freeze that right there because we should do a show around all of our stuff.
He ended up he was living in his car, and he wound up Dee Snider really influenced him as well, the lead singer of Twisted Sister, and actually kind of motivated him too. And so Adam ended up doing Hatchet, and it hit big, and he ended up doing the sequels, of course, and then he did, I want to say it's called Frozen is the other film he did. But then he did Holliston, which is on Shudder right now, but you can watch it. And that's a sitcom, a horror sitcom, where he and Joe Lynch are playing themselves, and Kane Hodder plays a version of himself. Danielle shows up. Odorous Ungress from Gwar is a lead character in it. God rest his soul. And it's a fantastically funny show. If you're a horror fan at all, you need to watch it. But I was going to say that Kane's documentary is actually on Shudder now that you can watch. That's all about his life and how he almost died from a horrible burning accident where he ended up setting himself on fire and didn't follow. He talks about it, but it's just a horrifying thing, and he almost died due to.
Is that's why his neck looks the way certain way, or?
Yeah, he
think-
had burns all over his body, and he wound up in a hospital, and he was he was thinking about killing himself, and it's just this horrible story. But at the end, he overcomes everything, and this was this was before he did Jason. So, and then now he does fire stunts all the time. It was a fire stunt that he was doing that caused the accident, and what didn't kill him, the burns weren't going to kill him. It was this infection he got from being in this hospital that didn't know how to care for it. And it's just this horrible story. But it's of that part of it, but the rest of it is amazing. And you hear how he goes to children's hospitals now in the burn units and visits the kids and visits other burn victims and gets them motivated and tells them this isn't the end of your life. You'll get through this. And he's just a good, decent person. And it's just more evidence that the best villains are played by the greatest dudes. Like,
I understand there's supposed to be 2 more Hatchet films.
I think they're talking about doing 2 more. I know that I think some stuff happened with the studio. Adams, they had some issues at his business. I can't remember if it was like a flooding happened or something. Something happened with the studio, but they got that taken care of. And now I think it's just a matter of, just COVID and things like that. I know they want to do it, but that's one thing that I really, I love about Adam Green is that he we'd seen him without the mask and the makeup, a couple of times, but in Hatchet, they really let Kane act in terms of emotion where he's playing Victor's father. Because he doesn't just play Victor Crowley, he plays Victor Crowley's dad. So you see him out of crying and he's dealing with the kid and everything. No. So it's just really cool to see. And when I got to talk to Kane, when the show airs, it was a great interview, and we talk about fandom. And fandom is, of course, what I love. I love my stuff. I love fans because they are me, basically. Yep. And Kane and Tony, they really love their fans. And one thing I'm really proud about in that interview I do with Kane that you'll hopefully see soon, is we talk about how important fandom is, because he talks about that in the documentary and how he goes to these conventions. He doesn't do it really for the money at all. He goes for the fans. And horror fans have gotten a bad rap. And I've witnessed that personally, where I've been called a Satan bitch and all this stuff. I've been called names. I've had people.
Where's that coming? Wait, I have to ask you, when does that come out? Because
the thing with Kane. I don't know the date yet. I'll keep you guys appraised of it.
Where does that kind of fandom behavior show itself? Because
that's normal people telling me that's what I am. And I grew up in a podunk little southeast Missouri, southern Illinois town. And I was the only girl at my high school that read Fangoria, that dressed in black, that loved horror movies. I mean, this is what I wore all the time. And I was called every name in the book. I was treated like an outcast because I was a chunky, white, fat girl that liked horror movies. I mean, you couldn't have picked more things to put in there to make people treat you like crap. And after high school, I still had that. Like my first job out of high school,
and the black folks say that to you, or you said
no?
Other white people.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. That's one thing that there's the anti-bullying movement, is against racism, and it's against, gay kids being bashed, which is, yes, don't do that. That's a horrible shit to do to people. But people like me,
I was bullied at Avalon Park in Chicago. For
Yeah, I mean, it's
being a
but
black guy that you would now call a nerd who is not. I
Mhm.
didn't fight well to play basketball well,
Yeah.
and girls weren't interested in me because I wasn't, either of those. And
Athletic, the Mr. Athletic dude. That's the thing. And so growing up,
then that was a particular thing with being black and male.
Mhm.
Um,
well,
you're not talking like a white person.
being overweight and a girl doesn't matter, but especially a fat white girl, we get treated like shit. And no one talks about that really. And they should, because it leads to eating disorders. It leads to suicidal thoughts. It's horrible. It will scar you for life, and it will destroy your self-esteem. To this day, I still don't really have any self-esteem about myself at all. You get this boy, this went to a totally different area, didn't it, guys? But you get this
value by Zennie 62 Media.
but you get this it's kind of like a defense mechanism where you make jokes about yourself before anyone else can. And that's a thing that you'll hear people talk about, especially fat people or people with weight problems. They will make jokes about themselves before anyone else can do it because they know it's going to come, and it's a way of kind of defending themselves and bridging a gap so you don't have to deal with that. And so it's as a horror fan, I not only had to deal with that part of it, but I had to deal with people making fun of the stuff I liked. I had a teacher. I always tell this is the example I use, is I had in the time I was going to high school, Guns N' Roses was huge, and that's how old I am. And there was this t-shirt that all these guys were wearing. All the boys were wearing this t-shirt. It was actually called, in the metal magazines, because I was also into metal, and I still am, called Rape Scene. That was the name of the shirt. And on the shirt, on the back, was this girl who had her panties down around her ankles, and she was laying on the ground, and it was obvious that she had been attacked. That was the name of the shirt, was Rape Scene. All the guys were wearing that shirt. But who did the shop teacher make a comment about and tell that he was going to put black electrical tape on top of her? But me with my Elvira t-shirt, because cleavage. Now, it was okay to have the girl it was fine to have the girl raped with her panties around her ankles, because it was a boy wearing it. But for me to wear a t-shirt of Elvira, who just had a little bit of cleavage, that was it. And he's like, I'm gonna put black electrical tape over that. I'm like, you can try.
That was terrible. I had what I thought was a humorous segue before you mentioned all that. Not really if I should play it. It's Daniel Harris's fault. This was completely I have to explain, folks, regarding how that all came about with July and 2010, and me being with R.A. Millenhoff, Tom Holland, Kane Hodder, and Daniel Harris. Is Daniel Kapkar was the PR person, and she was representing Dark Sky Films. And she took note that I was vlogging and came up with this idea of embedding me with the cast of Hatchet for the limo ride. That was her idea.
I love Tom Holland. He made one of the best vampire movies ever made.
Oh, see, this was
Fright Night.
I was for the tech, using the tech and everything, but you never know what you're going to get in these things. And in all honesty, too, the other thing within my head is, hey, I'm black and they're all white, and I didn't know how it'd be received and all that. Those things go through your mind, and me being me, I just sort of go do stuff without caring. And so because of that, what happens is, hey, thank you.
Thank you, Raider.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll go to the Dwyer Fund. So at any rate, what happens is you get these things like this is what happened, okay? And in there, this was Daniel Harris was with Jennifer Blanc, and if you wonder why you've heard the name Blanc, it's because her husband Michael was in the Aliens. Right, that's right. This is what happened, folks, and I'm going to show you this because you'll see. This is in the limo. This is in the limo, okay?
It fits him better.
It does.
Yeah, BJ's in Russia, that ass.
Well, I don't mean real BJ. We're going to call AJ PJ just because it fits him better.
You can continue to call me Mr. Bowen whenever you like. Or sir.
Hi. We're in the limo at Comic-Con for Hatchet 2 with all my friends.
Hey.
Who's down there?
Robert Pendergraft.
Tom, say hi. Holland.
What?
Say hi.
Hi there. How are you?
Let me see that smell one.
Oh, no.
God.
Smells infected.
Okay, folks, you have to think of a name for Danielle's.
Disgusting.
No, Danielle's
My
tag.
vagina smells
My vagina sits infected. That's what Kane said.
No, I did not say that.
He did say that.
I'm saying it. All right, what do you say?
I'm staying out of this one.
And AJ, if you're
Okay, my YouTube nation, tell me what you think this should say.
for me, my vagina smells infected. I like that.
Oh my god.
What do you say?
My vagina smells insincere.
My Diana. It is insincere.
It's inside.
My vagina is insincere.
Smells. Oh.
Disgusting. Where is this video gonna go, by the way?
Hey,
Halloween gal.
say it again.
I'm Halloween gal. HALLOWEEN.
Yeah, can you respond to her announcement about the victim, please?
On Twitter, Halloween Gal.
Halloween gal on Twitter. And I have a Facebook page up now, a fan Facebook page, which is
She actually has her own line of T-shirts now with her on them, which is kind of cool.
would think of MBSI for me.
Yeah.
I know, right? I should have never started this. But I'm
I think
curious,
it's a good one.
how many people will actually respond? And then they have them link it to your
You really
stuff?
want them to
Yeah.
respond?
Yeah,
You
come
really
on, be
want
clever.
Not only
It
that,
doesn't have
you know
to
what,
be
I'll
dirty.
put it
I
on
just
the-
let me see how smart you are. And then
Right.
I'll get on and I'll video myself going, you're the coolest, you rock, you came up with the best MBSI. So it's a contest.
There you are, folks.
And it went, and maybe we can even take it a step further.
What does it mean?
And I
Do you know?
will send you, spread the word to your friends, and then I will send them maybe something signed.
This is not my fault. Okay.
You're trying to blame Kane.
No, he did start it off camera. If I had the camera running, if I had known he would have said that, I would have put the clip up like that just to cover myself.
Raiders is saying that Andrew Lincoln would be in line. I do not doubt it at all because there's going to spin that off into those feature films. So I have no doubt that they're going to have Rick show up at the end. I have no doubt. But yeah, Danielle Harris has, which is really cool if you think about it. She has her own T-shirts of her now. She's gotten that iconic status where they're making T-shirts of her.
Oh,
Which is pretty cool. But yeah, the thing with kind of going back to the fandom thing, just for you guys out there, horror fans are some of the nicest and sweetest people you're ever going to meet.
Yep.
And that's why I feel I found my people. I always say I found my people when I started going to horror cons. Because like just to give you an example, okay, I took a photo of myself with this shirt, and because I just was reminded by the fact that I wore like probably 8 different Freddy Krueger t-shirts in high school. And I posted the photo on Facebook, and I just said, never change who you are. Never. Don't change who you are. And thanks to that, the fans I loved the things I wore, the things I watched, read, did when I was growing up, even though people gave me hell about it. And I was, I went through some pretty crap stuff thanks to it.
And you
I'm
got
now
out?
getting, and I got out of that area, and I'm now doing this kind of thing, and I'm getting nominated for awards for writing about this stuff that I love.
Look for her. I command you.
Yeah. And so, I posted that photo, and literally everybody, literally everybody on Facebook, every person that I'm friends with on Facebook that follows me said, I have that shirt. I have that shirt. I have that shirt. Like, everybody has bought the same shirt.
You gotta support her, because she's written about people like, let's take this because hold on.
I don't know, my collection of maybe how to do something.
And let me see something here, because I think we got to a point where we were talking about that, and that's Jennifer was fun. And how do we close this out?
Halloween Gal, send it to me at Halloween Gal.
You got it. So we're sitting here waiting for a damn camera crew that hasn't arrived, right? Is that what we're doing? That's what I was told. Where are you guys?
I see why they called you Century 21. You've got the tan blazer.
Exactly.
It's not totally boring.
That's it, folks. That was a blast from
Raiders wants to know how I joined Zennie 62.
Oh, well, we don't have a membership formally. What you do is you're a subscriber, right? But Raiders, that's a good question, because what do you think, Jessica? You think we should establish a membership club?
Sure. I think that would be cool, and we could do exclusives for the people that are in it.
Yeah, and I could then set up a series of, because I was contemplating doing this, I was playing with Peepso, using that social media setup, but I don't like its coding really weighs down my site. So I will find a lightweight blog-based membership so that we can have that in such a way that we can have rooms that are members only, and then that way we can have conversations. Let me research the proper software.
See what you did, Raiders? This is all your fault.
Yeah. I'm also toying with something called Air Meet.
Oh, you made me start my own channel, inspired me. Aw.
Awesome. And Air Meet, folks, allows, I have an early morning conference that I'm presenting at, but they're using Air Meet, and Air Meet allows you to have this central area, and then you have these different tables you can sit at, and people need credentials to get into this entire area. It's a conference. It's a virtual conference center. And I was thinking about this last night for Zennie 62, and then you mentioned the whole meeting thing, right? So what I like about Air Meet is it's on somebody else's server rather than mine. And I was thinking maybe if I could make a portal or an entry, and people could enter that, and then we could have special presentations on. They have their own turnkey video screen.
Nice.
So, and then that would be members only. Although I need to explore how the members only situation works for YouTube, because it also allows you to produce original content and show it to your members first, I believe. But
I think it does with that's how it works with Patreon, I think, too.
Okay, yeah, I haven't studied it. I like to keep it, everything I like to do, I like to make sure that it's monetized on a platform I have some ownership of, but also, and I say of, I should be very candid and say it's not really mine. It's Zennie 62 Media as a separate company. So we'll work that out. But I want to get back to the main topic at hand, which is Jessica. Remember to vote for her.
Vote for me. But yeah, I'm really happy with
Rondo, right?
RondoAwards.com.
At Rondo, I'm going back to tell them where to go.
Yep.
The RondoAwards.com.
I don't think there's a the. Let me see if that works. Because some of these will let's see.
Or Rondo Awards.
Yeah, I don't think there's RondoAwards.com. Because certain ones there you go. That's it.
It's digital,
Yeah.
folks.
There.
It's amazing. It's digital.
Yeah, but they've been going on for a while, and I'm really excited about it. I'm always happy when we get when it gets recognized, because I was really, really proud of the work I did on that issue. With everything going on at the time in the world, it was really important to capture what was going on in Candyman and show people the layers to that story and how timely it is and still is. But also, just celebrating Tony in a way that he deserved to be celebrated. That there's a stunning image of him that they used for that issue, for that article. It's just full page of him, just him. This black and white photo of him looks amazing. And it's just Tony. It's not, Daniel or anyone like that. It's just him as himself. And it was really important to do that. And I guess people liked it because now we're nominated. So vote.
Vote for Jessica Dwyer at WandaAwards.com. Got to do that. Oh, and by the way, I loved Kong versus Godzilla.
I liked it. I was disappointed in certain aspects of it, but apparently the same things I was disappointed in is what everybody else was disappointed in. So
what? Because I haven't looked at what other people said much.
The human aspects.
Yeah, I think if I were the writer, I do know Max Bornstein, but my issue with the entire series goes back to what I love about the original Godzilla movie, in that it was clearly a disaster movie.
Yeah, the thing with this that was
one more and then that before.
Oh, yeah.
All right, sorry. It was clearly a disaster movie that involved the government, and what I mean by that is, in real life, Jessica and I know, and everybody else watching this knows, that we would hear from the President of the United States, first of all. We would hear from local authorities. We would hear evacuation procedures. We would have somebody showing us a map of where the thing was. And I haven't to date seen a single movie that represents a monster attack as it would really happen to us, or a situation where even a monster wasn't attacking us. A monster has to happen to be present and was going to be fighting another monster, right?
The closest I think was Cloverfield, the original.
Yeah, that was. But even then, with Cloverfield, was there?
The thing with Cloverfield, it was the one handheld camera that was seeing it, but it was more realistic in how there was, panic. No one knew what was going on. It was more realistic in that way. The thing with this, with Godzilla Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong, however you want to say it, was
Godzilla.
It's Team Kong.
Team Godzilla.
Kong.
He got the loser part right. He lost.
Hey, he did not lose. He did not. The thing with Godzilla versus Kong.
Got his hat handed to him. You kidding me?
He
got pulled.
It was a draw. It was
draw. It wasn't a draw.
But
he still got on all fours and kicked his butt.
The thing
was funny.
I'm Team Kong, and he held his own. He held his own.
That's why I'm glad I saw it.
He held his own. The thing that I didn't like about this one.
Arm hurts. Oh, my arm hurts.
Did you notice he rigs himself back into shape? That's a Lethal Weapon reference that he does. Yeah. That was from Lethal Weapon with the slam. That was what he did. That was also a Die Hard reference when he's jumping off the ship.
Yeah.
That's the Die Hard jump. So Adam Wingard, who I've interviewed a couple of times now,
Whatever the reference, Kong got his butt kicked.
Kong made it out alive. Not a lot of people thought he would. The thing about this movie that was weak, and it was the same with the first Godzilla movie that came out with Kick-Ass, was Cobra Kai is fantastic. I got to host a Cobra Kai panel at Horror Hound too.
Is that on video?
I don't think the Cobra Kai one is. I did post. I did post somewhere in the chat. You can see the Candyman panel. But the human parts were so boring to me and annoying in Kong versus Godzilla. It was just annoying. Like, I could not stand the whole Millie Bobby Brown stuff. I couldn't stand any of that. And then
an actress, is that it, or just
no? Just the whole thing was just annoying. Like, that kid from Deadpool, who I normally like, is horrible in this because they've amped him up to 12, and it's like this is not contributing to anything. Just show me monsters fighting. Just stop.
I do think that there was an effort. I think the problem with
it started up too quickly.
Overall, the way the movie's going away from Gareth Edwards.
Well, Gareth Edwards didn't do any favors either, because his movie, it was more realistic in terms of the attack, but also it was the thing I hated about that movie, even more so than the fact that we never really got to see Godzilla that much, was the fact that you had these horrible characters. The one good character they killed off, like in the beginning, which was Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston's character was excellent. You didn't like, however, his son?
No. Aaron Taylor Johnson? No.
Why not?
All he did was this.
He moted. He had kids. He had a wife. He had a good.
I interviewed Aaron Taylor Johnson for that movie, and his performance showed as much disinterest as he had in the interview.
Oh, so you're mad about the interview?
No, I was. It was hilarious to me because it was kind of like me having to reel him back every time I talked to him. Like, no, Aaron, come back. We were not done, Aaron. Aaron.
He was trying to.
I wasn't even in person with him. I was over the phone, but it was hilarious because he just didn't care. And so in the film, he even made a crack about, he had me staring off into the distance a lot.
That's sad. For me, again, what I'm saying is that I have not seen a Godzilla movie that met the standard in 1954. Because 1954, if I may, hold on a second.
Uh-huh.
For those of you who I'll be 59 August 4th, okay? And when Godzilla became to my attention was 1969, and that was in Chicago. And that version had Raymond Burr in it.
The American version.
And that's all I knew for years. And it wasn't until the early aughts that I heard about the real version and that it was out and it was playing at the Grand Lake Theater in Oakland. I missed it, which I might add is the best place to watch a movie, particularly a monster movie. It's on 3200 Grand corner Grand and Lake Shore in Oakland, Grand and Lake Park in Oakland. Anyway, and when I finally did see it, I was mad. And I saw it on Turner Classic Movies here last year for the first time. And that Godzilla movie has subtitles. There's no Americans. And the Japanese were angry over, they didn't say the United States, but it was implied. Hydrogen bomb testing in the waters off Tokyo, repeated. There was a direct connection to what we had done in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. As I was talking to my mom about it, who gave a great point. Okay, and this is what good movies do is they spark conversation and controversy for decades to come. And when I played this, my mom got mad because she said, "Hey, wait a minute, we were attacked too." And she talked about how we were provoked into attack by the Japanese, which were part of the Axis powers, and the Japanese and the Germans won. We very well may not have had a democracy in the United States. Okay, that's how close we were.
That's the whole point of the Man in the High Tower series
Right.
on Amazon. Yeah,
Right.
the alternate.
My point is, getting back to Godzilla, my point is that okay, that was ripped out of Godzilla. That storyline was ripped away because we had Raymond Burr, and you never saw the anger the Japanese felt. And the reason why it's such a great history lesson for people is this: the 1952 Dodge policies were such that Japan can only spend 1% of its GDP on defense. Why? Because the United States and the Allied powers didn't want Japan to grow again. So they created the Ministry of Natural Trade and Industry that then spawned Toyota and the Japanese auto industry and the Japanese steel industry that took over foreign direct investment in the United States by the 1980s. So all of this is tied together in ways you probably didn't even know, but for the remaking of the film to show it as it actually was. So you can say why. Okay.
And that's why I liked the King of the Monsters so much. Why am I getting an echo?
Are you getting a hook? What?
I'm getting an echo.
I don't hear an echo.
Oh, weird. So that, but that's part of the reason I like King of the Monsters so much, was because when Mike Dougherty took it on, he created more of that element of each of the Titans representing a different element. Like Rodan is fire, you've got Godzilla as water, you've got Mothra as air, and I really liked how he also went along and brought in aspects of the original Godzilla, where you've got Ken Watanabe's character, Serizawa, is named after the character in Godzilla that kills himself to sacrifice himself to stop the monster. But they also brought in the oxygen destroyer, which is how they destroyed Godzilla in the original movie. And there's more of that in there, and they made it more about the fact that the Titans were part of nature, and there was all of this in that was so brilliant. And
Jessica is, and this is why I until I write my own movie and maybe get a chance to have it greenlit in some kind of way, so about some kind of monster. My whole point is this, okay? In real life, the government that we don't know, and socially, we have quite literally not been educated on what government does, would have taken control like nobody's business, would have been worse. When I say control, I don't mean just our government. This will be an international situation. So someone, let's say that we had it during the Trump era as a story, all right? You know that Donald Trump would have been blaming Godzilla on the Japanese. Okay?
Oh yeah.
Right? Okay. And then think of the implications, right? It came from them, right? And then, hey, wait a minute. You were our allies and you created this thing, and they would be shooting back at them. And then they would say, oh, no, it wasn't. It was Kim Jong-il.
And that's part of the problem I have with this movie, and other people have been talking about, is, at least Monarch in King of the Monsters was having that hearing where they were actually having to talk to the government about what they were working on. And in Skull Island, you had them being funded by the government and they having to beg for finances. In this new movie,
Gareth Edwards too.
But there was that. But in this new one, you have Apex just doing whatever the shit they want,
right? With
no comeuppance. They don't have any. And then you have this whole thing with Skarsgård's character and the girl from Skull Island doing this massive project using warships and all of this. How did that get greenlit?
Well, here's the thing: who paid for it?
Right.
Implies
And
that
so
government
it's
pays for it, as opposed to like, are you super rich? You own these things yourself?
yeah, I get that it's a
You know,
fantasy film,
there's
but
the only
it, ugh. That's what I had a problem with.
right, and I have a problem with it because to me it communicates what led to the Capitol riots, which people don't understand their own government. And
Well, it just makes it just
if I may, and it goes back to something that Richard Dreyfuss said to me the same year that I was at Comic Con when I was covering the Night of 100 Stars Oscar party. He started a foundation because he said that people did not know civics. And what's going on is that this not lack of knowledge of civics, which is fun, has seeped into our lives, and so we get stories that quite literally X government out of it, and then we get people who are elected who, like in Oakland, they have no clue their own government works, and so we have crime up the wazoo, and no one knows what to do, and it's a chaos. And so the reason I'm reacting this way is because we have a crisis now, folks, in a number of parts of the country that's been decades in the making of us denying ourselves about how our country works and making sure that you know and others know and everybody else. And so we get stories like this, which would have been much better and much cooler if you poured in that realistic political element that we know. And you could have had like a multi-part series. You could put this thing on Netflix. You could have had, I mean, Jessica, I swear to you, the best monster movie has not been made. At all.
well, a lot. If you've seen Shin Godzilla,
Yeah,
that one actually, I had a problem with how Godzilla was like a googly-eyed freak for most of it, but it had that aspect to it, which was more realistic than what you see here. And like all of the 90s Godzilla films and the 80s
reminding me of that. You're right.
Yeah, the 90s Godzilla films and the 80s Godzilla, like they did these different eras of Godzilla, and they actually had the G-Force, which was like this government sanctioned group that was created to battle Godzilla and all the monsters and stuff like that. They all had more aspects of that in them. And they were fun. They were great. Shin Godzilla, though, was more realistic in a lot of ways. And it kind of, that movie split the fan base a bit, though, because a lot of people feel like me, like, why does Godzilla look like a googly-eyed freak for like 75% of this movie? But I like that it looked.
Oh, and don't forget.
Yeah. I liked the way it looked. I liked the realism of it because it was serious. Now, Kong versus Godzilla is not a serious movie. It's supposed to be a popcorn flick, which is fine, and I love those parts of it. But the problem I had with it was King of the Monsters and Skull Island built up to the monster showing up, and there was plot. Right. This just starts with dude talking about how he's infiltrating this place that I know nothing about. And then Godzilla shows up for some reason and attacks it. And it's like, this makes no sense. What's going on? Where's Monarch?
Well, like, how does Godzilla know what they're doing at Apex? Does he have like his own?
Well, it just happens, and it's like
plants,
Yeah, it's like, well, what's going on? I mean, who is this dude? How far in the future are we? Why do they have Tron vehicles suddenly, and it's 2021? Where did this technology come from? Because last movie we weren't like that high tech.
No.
So there was like no explanation for really any of that other than, the Titans made us smarter.
Future, right?
Yeah, it's not that far in the future, if that. And it's like, well, how did that all happen? And they kind of give you this vague, the Titans helped us create more. And it's like, but how did the Titans give us a more advanced technology like this? That makes no sense. And how did
they didn't?
Yeah. And how did Apex get to where they're at without having someone say, these guys are they're how did they do all this stuff and create all this stuff without someone knowing?
Yeah.
And so I get the fantasy aspect, but you've built upon a series of films that had realism to them, even if they are about giant monsters. Like Skull Island, you had the whole Vietnam thing going on, and it wasn't like we were fighting them with lasers. King of the Monsters, we were going to all be dead if Godzilla hadn't become who he was, and the way they had to do that was physically detonate a nuclear bomb next to him.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it went too far in a series that was kind of built on a trying to be at least a little realistic, but also the slapsticky adventures of Eleven and her crew was just horrible. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, are you the Kenny from Gamera now? Is that is this where we've gone? What happened to the chick that was kicking butt and taking names at Fenway Park to, where was that? So anyway, that's where I'm at with Godzilla. I enjoyed it, the parts of it that I enjoyed, like the fights and that kind of a thing, but I would love to have more Monarch stuff like they had in King of the Monsters. I like that Monarch had a ship that gave them the ability to be in the middle of the battle. I thought that was cool. That way they could contribute.
Vote for Jessica. Vote for Jessica.
Yes.
Vote for Jessica.
Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed us babbling and talking about all things horror and
That was babble. That was banter.
Bantering.
Banter. That was
I tend to babble.
That was learned stuff for you.
I tend to babble, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and
we were fine.
RondoAwards.com.
I got John Russo on to 1:30. We're going to be talking about a very horrifying development in politics at 1:30 East. Stick around the backstage, Jessica. We'll see you.
See you guys.
Thank you all.